So just before we get started, last recap on what you'll need. A couple of yoga blocks or 2 thick books just to use for your hands through some of these stretches. A towel, a stick, a band, anything like that will be perfect. A cushion or a pillow for some pigeon stretching, and a chair or a back of a lounge. Anything like that will be perfect. Alrighty, so guys, we're just going to start with a bit of a body limber. So I'm going to get you standing up. I'm just going to, Aldrich, can you tilt that camera up a little bit more, just a little bit? All right, guys, we're going to work just through the joints to get everything moving before we start. So hands on the hips. I'm just gonna get you to take your hips around your feet. So a full circle. Try and keep your head quite still. So we're just trying to get these hips moving around the feet. So just circling in one direction. Good. Okay, pause there, go back the other way. Just warming up through the hips, through the lower back. Good afternoon, Adonna, how are you? I saw you sneak in there. And Liz, good, all the way around. Okay, pause there. Take one foot out in front. You can hang onto a wall if you need to. We're just gonna circle through the ankle. So I'm taking that ankle around in a full circle. Just starting to loosen it up. Good, all the way around. Let's go back the other way. So you're tracing those toes through the biggest circle that you can. There we go. Good, okay. And then just swap your sides over. So pop onto the other side. Take that ankle through a full circle. So think of pulling the toes in, up to the ceiling, out to the side and down. So nice and slow through the circles, but a really full stretch. Have we done the other way here? If we haven't, go back the other way for a few circles. Sorry, I was distracted talking. Keep going. Okay, lovely, guys. Come down to your knees. I'm gonna place my hands on my knees. Just take them out to the side, full circle. Straighten them out at the top and then back the other way. So just gently taking the knees through a full circle. So guys, for those that have just jumped in, we're just going through a bit of a body limber before we settle into some stretches. One more each way here. Okay, good. Standing up nice and tall. Bring those arms over in a full backward arm circle. So I'm thinking of trying to brush my ears through the top and squeeze the hands together behind the body. That's it. We'll get a couple more in this direction. See how your left shoulder is feeling compared to your right. And reversing directions there. So pulling your hands back behind the body, trying to brush your ears through the top of the movement. So we're just trying to take our shoulders through as much range as we have available. Okay, nice and relaxed into some German arm swings or monkey arm swings. So I'm taking my bottom arm across the front of the body. Top arm comes down behind my head. I'm just starting to stretch out through my lats, through my triceps. Well done. And then from there, I'm just going to take my feet into a straddle and just start to lengthen out through the side of the body. So I'm going to bend down. If you'd like more of a stretch, you can take the hand over, come back to the top, change sides. If you bring your hand down to your knee, it might let you move a little further into that side. So just working left to right at your own pace. Good. So with the stretches tonight, guys, I'll often give a few variations. So I'm just going to get you to choose the variation that feels most comfortable for you. Okay, stay in your straddle, hands on your hips. We're going to hinge. So I'm going to push my tailbone back, hinge until I find a stretch down the back of my legs, and stand back up. So work through a few of these at your own pace and just gently hinging forward, standing back up. Good. Keep going. So it's a nice long spine. You might find you can get a little bit lower as you warm into a few more reps. So let's just go through another 3. Good. 2 more. That's it. And last one. Right. Well done. Pause there. Let's just pop down onto the floor. Okay. So if you're on the floor, I'm just going to start in a crawling position and I'm just going to move through a few cat-cows. I'm going to sink down into my starting position so I'm nice and arched And then starting at my tailbone, trying to tuck that tailbone under, round up through my spine until I get to my head. And then in reverse, chin comes up, start to extend through your spine. Good, until you're fully arched. Keep going, guys, in your own time. We're working from your tailbone up through to the top of your head. So from one end to the other, just trying to get your spine to move one vertebrae at a time. Good, let's do one more in each direction. So one more where you finish extended, so in that arched position. And then one more where we finish rounded, so in your flexed position. And then I'm going to get you to leave your hips nice and high over your knees. Walk your hands forward and sink your chest and shoulders down towards the floor. So if you're quite stretchy here, you might like to pop onto your fingertips. And you can put in some little pulses just up and down for 10 seconds if you like. So gently pulling into that stretch a little bit further each time. Good, okay. Very slowly walk those hands in and we're going to sink down into seal. So in your seal position, you can be on your forearms if you like. If you're more comfortable, just pop up onto your hands. And I'm trying to push my hips down into the floor as much as I can. So from that position, if you like, you can throw in a few rotations. So I'm just gently trying to rotate my shoulders, look over the opposite shoulder, but try and keep your hip bones facing down into the floor. That's it. Let's get a couple more in each way. Well done. And slowly sitting up out of that. Okay, I'm going to get you to pop onto your heels. So I've tucked my toes under here, trying to hold my heels together, and I'm just going to sit back on my heels. I'm just getting a bit of a stretch through the toes and through maybe the arches of the feet or even the ankles and Achilles, depending where you're tight. Now, if this is too much, you can move in and out of this position. So you can rock up and down, so in and out of that stretch, or you can just sit and hold. Okay, see how whether that stretch is sitting in the arches of your feet, if it's sitting more under your big toe, or it might be down the back of the calf. So we'll stretch our calves out a little bit more in a moment. And then from there, guys, I'm going to get you to come and flatten those toes out this time. Sitting back there on your heels. And then we're going to stretch out the front of the feet. So I'm going to place my hands on the floor. Just gently lift my knees up until I find a stretch and lower. So just for 30 seconds, we're going to rock up and down. Now, if that is quite comfortable, you can also lean a little bit further back. Okay, so choose what feels good. We're just gently rocking up, lifting the knees off the floor and down. Just get a couple of these in. Let's do two more. Good, see if you can get your heels together in this position or if they've split apart. Last one. All right, guys, well done. Okay, let's grab a yoga block and we're going to start off with a calf stretch. So I'm going to get you to find either a step, a nice big book or a block. And we're just going to pop your toes up on that block to start with. All right. So from this position, I'm going to fold over. So you can bend your back knee. Maybe I should swap sides. You can bend your back knee. And I'm just going to, you can round your spine as well. So you might get to the point where you just want to round and hang. So I've got my toes on the block and we're just going to come into a static hold. So you can rest your hands on the block, you can hug your elbows, but we're going to work through a 60-second hold and then 30 seconds of gentle pulses where I'm just gently but actively pulling into that stretch. Okay, so guys, let's fold over for this hold. I've got the timer going. Take a nice deep breath in. Okay, and let's settle into that hold now. Focusing on your breathing here as well. So nice deep breath into your tummy. As you exhale, we're just trying to relax. Now, you might find the stretch is quite nervy because we have those toes elevated. If it is too much, you can take the block away and just place your foot on the floor if you prefer. Okay. So keeping a nice deep breath in. As you exhale, we're just trying to relax a little bit lower into that stretch. Because you might find if you take a lot of weight on your back leg here, it's going to come in more into the hamstring. If you try and lean up over the toe, it should be more calf. So I'm trying to take my weight forward here over the toes as much as I can. Good, keep breathing there, nice deep breath in. Now we're going to work into 30 seconds of little pulses. So you can leave your hands on the ground or you can hug your elbows, and I'm just gently pulling down. So it's a pull and release, pull and release, pull and release. So it's always controlled. I'm trying to push my tailbone up out behind me. Good, try and keep the weight over the toes on that block. We've got 5 seconds to go. 3, 2, and 1. Bend those knees, guys, when you stand up. How are we feeling? I'm seeing a few grimaces there. Walk those legs around for a moment if you like before you jump into the other side. Who else has just joined me? Hannah, good afternoon. Andrew's jumped in. All right, let's set ourselves up on the other side. So we'll jump into our second calf stretch. So foot up on the block. Okay, when you're ready, we're just going to fold over. So we have that 60-second hold to start with. All right, now from this position, again, if I have the weight on my back leg, it might sit more into your hamstring. If you can transition your weight onto that front foot as much as possible, you should feel it more through the calf. So we have 60 seconds here. Just focusing on breathing, relaxing into that stretch. If you are really tight in your front leg, put a soft bend in the knee. It does not have to be perfectly straight. Good. Full breath into your tummy. You might also like to rock perhaps, so rocking forward over that front foot and then releasing. Okay, take a nice deep breath in. We have 30 seconds of pulses. I'm going to hug my elbows. And let's go. We're gently pulling down and release. So it's a pull and release. Pull and release. Pull and release. Pull. Good. Keep going. Last, what have we got? 10 seconds to go. Pull and release. Pull and release. Pull and release. And you can relax there. So we're going to bend those knees, stand up slowly. Guys, well done. That one's actually can be quite a nasty one, a little bit nervy sometimes. Walk the legs around if you need to. And then I'm going to get you to pop down onto the floor. Okay. So we'll follow that up in a moment with a hamstring stretch, but we're just going to work our hips in rotation before we get into the hamstrings. So I'm going to get you to sit in what we call our 90-90 position. So I have 90 degrees on my front knee and my back knee is also bent at 90 degrees, okay? So if you find sitting upright in this position creates a bit of pinching in the hip, prop, so use your hand as a kickstand and we're going to lean out to the side a little bit. So what I'm looking to do with this is I'm going to work the rotation on my back hip. So I'm going to lift my glute up, so my glute is off the floor, and then I'm just going to try and pin it down onto the mat. So I'm trying to get my glute to touch the mat. Gently lifting up, pin that glute to the floor. It does not matter if your front knee lifts up. So let's just spend a minute here gently grooving this back hip in and out of that internally rotated position. If you can't get to the floor, guys, that is okay. Just go as far as you can. So I'm gently trying to pin my glutes to the ground and then we're lifting up in between. So we're going to settle into a hold here in a moment. And just make a note of how this side feels, because it might be very different to your other side when we get there. Okay, from there, we're going to try and pin that glute to the ground. Now, if you need more of a stretch, you can actually lean back on your hands if you like. If sitting up is enough, then that's where we're going to sit. So I'm just sitting in this stretch. Now we've got one small contraction that we're going to put into this stretch. So I'm going to think of my foot, and I'm going to think of pushing my foot down into the floor as hard as I can. So I'm almost trying to push myself out of that stretch. Okay, so take a nice deep breath in. Make sure you're sitting in a bit of a stretch. And I'm going to get you to start to push your foot down into the floor. So just gently, but starting to push down just with 20% effort. Good, if you're comfortable, we're going to push down a little harder, 40%. So I'm trying to push myself out of the stretch without going anywhere. 60% if you can. Good. 80%, if you're not comfortable doing 80%, you stop wherever you are comfortable. Now your maximum safest effort, so try and push that foot into the floor for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, keep pushing as much as you can safely. 3, 2, 1, stop pushing. Just relax and see if you can sit into that stretch or lean back a little bit more. We're just going to hold here for these last 20 seconds. So guys, the idea behind that contraction is we're just engaging the muscles in that stretch a little bit by building a bit of strength there. So contracting to strengthen, and then relaxing sometimes gives us a little bit more range to play with afterwards. Okay. Now when we come out of this stretch, I'm going to get you to pop out of it slowly. So we're just going to gently turn the torso, so lift that hip out of the stretch if we need to, and then we can swivel to the other side. So if you swivel your hips to the other side, we should be set up in your 90-90 position, ready to go again. And we're just going to start with that grooving. So I'm lifting my glute up, so my glute is off the floor, and just gently trying to pin it back down onto the mat. So lifting up and gently trying to almost screw your hips into the floor. Good. So you'll find the more I lean out and away, the gentler that stretch might be. The more I try and sit upright, the more I'm pulling that hip into a tighter stretch. So you can play around with your torso position here and choose whatever feels best for your hips. So guys, if this one feels a bit uncomfortable, we don't often get into an internally rotated hip position day to day, but it is important that we stretch it out because it impacts our ability to squat, sit, flex through our hips. Let's do one more and settle into that stretch. Okay, so see if you can get that glute on the ground. We're just going to hold. And then we're going to start with that contraction, so coming down to your back heel. Take a nice deep breath in and see if you can start to create a dent in the floor. So I'm gently pushing that heel down into the floor just with 20% effort. Good. If you can, bring that up to 40%. So I'm driving a little bit harder. So I'm trying to push myself out of the stretch. Good. 60% if you can. That's it. 80%. Remember, you stop wherever your safe upper limit is. And last ditch effort, let's push down. Max safest effort for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. As you relax, see if you can sink a little further back or maybe walk your hands back. And we're just going to hold this for these last 20 seconds. Guys, if you're grimacing there or it's too much, just pop up and out of that stretch a little if you need to. So you should be able to breathe. I hope you should be able to smile in your stretches. Good. You want to give your body the best chance of relaxing. Okay, now to gently come out of this, bring those hands and torso round. Tuck that knee in a little bit if you like, and you may like just to gently roll your hips out. Okay. So we're going to follow this with one for external rotations. That's turning the hip out. It's a pigeon stretch, which a lot of you guys are probably have come across in different places before. So we're going to start in your most basic position for this. So I'm back in my 90-90 position. So my front knee and my back knee are at 90 degrees. Okay, and then we progress from there. Now, you might like to prop yourself up on a pillow or a bolster. Okay, so if you find the position hard to get into, elevating your hip is going to make this a little bit easier. So please elevate your hip if you wish. You can sit on a yoga mat, anything like that. And then to progress this position, if you're comfortable, we start to straighten that back knee out behind us. Okay, so I'm just going to turn around so I can see you. So the block is optional. And then we start in our 90-90 position, and if we need more of a stretch on the outside edge of the hip, we can start to extend that back knee out behind us. You might also like to have your blocks handy to go under your hands on this one. It is completely up to you. So I'm just going to get you to sit and hold. I'm going to talk you through a few cues for the moment. Your chest can be up or it can be down. I really don't mind. Choose whatever's going to give you the best stretch in the outside edge of that front hip. Okay. Your front knee angle, we are aiming to bring this as close to 90 degrees as possible. You will find if you have this foot tucked right in next to your hip, it's going to reduce the stretch. So I'm trying to open this knee angle up as close to 90 as you can. If it's too much, you can reduce the stretch by bringing that heel in. Okay. So holding here, again, you can have chest up, chest down, I don't mind. And I'm focusing on breathing into my tummy. So we're going to just finish off this hold, and then we're going to work into a few different efforts and contractions. Good, keep focusing on your breathing here. I'm just going to turn myself around again so everyone can see. Okay. From that position, we're going to start to lean forward just as far as we can comfortably without it being too big a stretch. And then we're going to work on what we call end range closing. So I'm going to take a nice deep breath in, and I'm going to use all the muscles in my core and my hips to try and pull me forward into that stretch for 10 seconds. You can do it with your hands up or you can do it with your hands down. So take a nice deep breath in. And let's go. We're trying to pull forward as much as possible for 10. So I'm lengthening out in my spine. 8, 7, 6, 5. Well done. Keep pulling forward. 3, 2, 1. Now try and stay down there, but just relax. Try not to pop up too much. We're going to do one more effort. Good. Take a deep breath in. And let's go again. Try and lengthen yourself out. Pull into that stretch for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Relax down there, and I'd like you to take 2 deep breaths. 2 deep breaths before you come out. So a nice full breath in. Make sure you properly relax. So 2 deep breaths. When you have done that, it's just gently sitting up out of the stretch, bringing that back knee in. If you need to stand up and move around for a moment, you can before we settle into that second side. Okay. So when you are ready, guys, we'll just start to set up on the other side. If you need to wriggle around for a little bit longer, you can. So front knee, we're going to try and open that angle to 90 degrees or as close as possible as we can get to that. And then if we need more of a stretch, we start to extend that back leg out behind us. Have those books or those blocks just there for your hands if you need them. All right. So I'm sitting up quite tall at the moment. Again, if you would like to bring your chest forward, you can. Good. Guys, just hold that position for a bit longer. The windows are open and it's really noisy, so I'm just going to close them. So keep focusing on your breathing. Okay, And just start to bring your chest forward. So we're going to jump into those 2 efforts where we start to pull into that stretch and lengthen through the spine. So take a nice deep breath in. You can have the hands in front of you if you like. And let's pull forward. So lengthening out for 10, 9, 8. If you're after a challenge, have your hands up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Relax, but just stay down there in that stretch. And we'll go for one more effort. Take a nice deep breath in. Good. And let's pull forward, lengthening out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Good. Keep pulling if you can. 3, 2, 1. Relax, but try and stay down in that position, and let's take 2 full breaths before you come out. So 2 nice full breaths. Make sure you relax and exhale fully, guys, between each breath. And then you can gently ease yourself out of that. All right. Guys, really nice. Wander around or wriggle through the hips if you need to. And then we're actually going to come into a hamstring stretch as our next stretch. So with this particular stretch, what I would like you to do, we're going to set up next to a chair or a lounge or even a wall. So you're going to use your hands for a bit of support here. So in my stretch, I'm going to place 1 foot forward. Let me swap my knees over. So 1 foot forward, okay, and I'm in a half lunge. So please cushion your back knee if you need to, pop a cushion or a mat under it. And then I'm going to lean forward. So I've got my lounge or my chair here, and I'm just going to place my hands on that chair. A wall will do the same job. So I'm just going to get you to set up in this position. Okay, so let's give you all a second to jump into that particular stretch, and then we'll work through those holds. Okay. I'm just going to angle a touch so I can see you all. All right. So, guys, what I'm also trying to do here is you can round. Now, if you're really tight in your hamstring, you might find you can't straighten your back. If possible, we're going to try and lengthen through the spine and almost like push that tailbone out behind you. So if you need to put a soft bend in your front knee, that is also okay. So as long as you're getting a stretch in your hamstring, it does not matter if your front knee has a soft bend or if it is completely straight. So choose whatever works best for you. So play around with both and you might find you get a better hamstring stretch with a soft front knee. Okay. Take a nice deep breath in. We're just going to get comfortable here for a moment. So what we generally find is holding that initial stretch for 90 seconds to 2 minutes just allows our body to relax a little bit into that position before we start to do any contractions or any efforts. Okay, just make sure whatever position you're in, you have that stretch sitting there nicely in your hamstring. So I'm going to either take a deep breath and I'm going to get you to think about starting to push your front heel down into the floor. So let's just keep these quite gentle, so 50% or under, but push that front heel down into the floor for 5, 4, keep pushing down, 3, 2, 1. As you exhale, see if you can relax a little bit lower into that stretch. Good. Take another deep breath in. We'll do 3 of these. Push your heel down into the mat, down into the floor, just at 50% effort or less for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, deep breath in. As you exhale, see if you can get a little bit lower again. You don't have to, you might find you're comfortable just holding. And one more deep breath. Start to push your heel down into the mat for 5, 4, effort is 50% or less, 3, 2, 1. Good, nice deep breath. Exhale, relax. See if you can sink a little lower. We'll just hold here for a moment. Well done. So hopefully we've got a little bit lower over those 3 efforts. I'm just going to bend my front knee to release from that stretch. So bend the front knee and then walk yourself in and release from that stretch. Okay. Again, if you would like to walk around before you jump onto your other side, you can. And when you're ready, just join me on my second side. So cushion your back knee if you need to. Front foot is out in, well, front foot is obviously out in front, so there's nowhere else for it to go. So extend one leg out in front, keep it straight if you can. If you find you get a better hamstring stretch with a bent knee, just pop a soft bend in that front knee. And remember, if we're rounding, I'm also trying to push my tailbone out behind me. So I'm trying to extend and keep that long spine. All right, so we're focusing on the hold to start with. Again, you can play around between a bent knee and a straight knee on the front and just see what gives you a better stretch in the hamstring. That's it. And on each exhale, always just trying to see if we can sink a little bit lower into that stretch. Well done. Alrighty guys, from there, take a nice deep breath in and just gently start to push your front heel down into the floor. So 50% or less. So I'm pushing out of that stretch for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take that deep breath in and see if you can relax a little bit lower there. Good, let's go again. Take that breath in to start and drive your heel down into the floor for 5, 4, that's it, 3, 2, 1. Stop pushing, full breath, and on the exhale, we relax and sink into that stretch if we can. See if you can find just another millimeter or so. Good, good effort. Last one. When you're ready, start to push that heel down into the floor for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stop pushing. Last breath in. Good. Exhale. We're just going to sink into that stretch for these last few seconds. So see if that muscle has given you a little bit more room to move. Nice, and then to come out of this, we're going to bend that front knee. So release the stretch from that front leg. Bring that foot in. Well done. And walk around there if you need to before we move on. All right, guys. So we've done quite a bit with the hips, hamstrings and calves. I would, just as one more to finish off for the lower body, I'd like to get into the adductors, so the muscles that sit on the inside edge of the thigh. So they're often overlooked. So we're going to jump into a single leg frog stretch. So for this stretch, I'm going to start in a crawling position, okay? I'm just going to take one leg out to the side. Then from there, all I'm going to do is just start to slide down as low as I'm comfortable. Now, if you have a nice big cushion or something, you can always rest your elbows on that cushion or pillow. Or if I'm a bit higher, I can have my hands on the lounge. So I can be upright if you would prefer to be. Okay, so hands can be up on the lounge, or you might like them down on the floor. And we're just going to sink and hold on this one. So I'm just taking that leg or that foot out as far as it will go. You might be up here on your hands. Yep, and we've got a 90-second hold. All right, so that timer's on now. If you're a little bit lower, come down to your hands. Yep. And if you are a bit of a fidgeter in your stretching, you might like to rock. So you might like to rock forwards and backwards. Or you can just hold. This one is up to you. And over the course of this stretch, we're just gonna see if we can let that foot slide a little bit lower each time, a little bit further away from the midline. So again, the rocks are optional, but either way, we're always focusing on our breathing. So taking that nice deep breath in. On the exhale, guys, we're just over halfway. See if you can let that foot slide out a little bit lower. Good. For anyone who's after more of a stretch, if you're getting a little bit lower, you might like to lift up onto your hands and use that to push the hips down. Okay, keep focusing on that breathing. So guys, if you're in a position where you're fighting that stretch, you may like to come out of it just a touch. So we almost want to find a position where we have a stretch, but we can breathe and we can almost feel our tummy relax into it. So it's just going to indicate a safe position for the body and let those muscles relax a little further. And just like that, you have done 90 seconds. So to come out of this stretch, you can either walk yourself back up or you can rock forward onto your tummy and tuck that leg in. Okay. All right. If that particular stretch, guys, I know it's a tough one for a lot of us. We don't often stretch through the inside edge of the legs. So if it's a bit emotional, stand up, walk around. If you need to, just let those legs recover, let the body recover, let that nervous system recover before we jump into the other side. And then when you are ready, we start in that crawling position. We take one leg out to the side and then you can slide down from there. Or if that's enough of a stretch, we can sit up. We can place our hands on the back of the lounge or on a chair if you would prefer to be in an upright position. Okay, so let's do 90 seconds on this side as well. And again, it can be a static hold. All right. Or we can gently rock forwards and backwards. Because I'm going to leave your lower body alone after this. We'll get into a little bit for the spine and the upper body. So last main lower body stretch for tonight. You've done really well with these. Good, nice deep breaths as you gently work through the stretch. And guys, stretching is also just about seeing what your body responds best to. So some bodies really like those longer static holds where you just sit and hold a stretch. Other bodies will respond a little bit better to some movement throughout the stretch, so you might like to rock. And then as you get into different types of stretching, you've got all your contraction work and pails and rails. So it's just exploring different types. So there is something that works for everyone. It is just trial and error to see what your body will respond to. Good, so we've just gone under 30 seconds to go. See if you can get that foot to slide a little bit lower into the stretch. That's it. Well done. And also make a note here, how your left side feels compared to your right. So one side is usually going to be a little bit tighter than the other. Easy done. Gently come out of that so we can roll forward or we can just walk our hands in, walk up out of that position. Guys, if you'd like to roll your hips out a touch or swivel them out before we move on, you can just sit on your tailbone. I'm just gently leaning back on my hands and rolling my knees from side to side. Okay. So we're going to get into chest, shoulders, and upper back a little bit on our next stretch. So we're going to come into a stretching cat. So a couple of options with this one when you set yourself up. A chair or the back of a lounge or even a wall. So having your hands on a wall here will work for stretching cat. So either way, we're going to keep our hips up over our knees. Our hands, or our arms I should say, will be straight, and I have my ears tucked right between my arms. So I want to make sure my chin is not down on my chest. And then we're going to spend the first 60 seconds just gently repping in and out of this stretch. So when you're ready, jump in and join me. So I'm going to think about pushing my chest and shoulders towards the floor and then lifting up to release. Okay, so hands on a chair, a lounge, or a wall. If you're on the wall, guys, you get the bonus of a bit of a wrist stretch as well because our hands will be flat on that wall. And let's keep going through those reps. So if you'd like to add a little bit more intensity, I'd like you to think about actively pulling yourself down. So use your muscles to pull down into that stretch. So you can gently push away through the hands, but use the chest, use the shoulders to pull yourself into your best possible position at the bottom. Well done. Keep going with those reps. That's it. Remember, we're aiming to keep the ears between the arms, just so the chin stays up off the chest. And on the next rep, I'm going to get you to sink down into that bottom position and just hold. So we have 30 seconds. We're just gonna hold in that stretch. Good, nice full breath in. Exhaling in between. Well done, we're almost there. And then we're slowly coming out. So I'm gonna lift up out of that stretch and either walk my knees in or bring my hands down off the chair. Okay, roll your shoulders out for a moment there, guys. So that's shoulder flexion as well. So that's taking the hands up over the body. We're also going to stretch shoulder extension. So that is where we take the hands back behind the body. So if you have a band, a stick, or a towel, I'm going to get you to place that behind you now, okay? So we're going to stretch shoulder extension. Now, I'm holding onto the stick or the towel or the band because what that is going to do, when we slide back in shoulder extension, we are aiming to keep our hands as close to the outside edge of our hips as we can. So what tends to happen as we slide back into the stretch, our hands get wider and we lose the stretch. So I'm going to try and hang on to that stick or towel to keep my hands shoulder width apart as I lean back, okay? So I'm gonna get you to set up in that stretch, holding onto your towel or your stick, yep, or your band. And if you can't slide back, you can shuffle your hips forwards. So I'm just gently going to slide as far forward as I can into that stretch. Stop at any point that you find you have enough of a stretch. Now, we might find we're getting a bit of a stretch across the elbows as well if we're a bit tight through the chest, so the pecs and also the biceps. We may find this stretches in through or across that elbow joint. So just go as far as you can. I don't mind if your knees are bent or you might like to straighten them out. And just breathing here for the moment. If your shoulders have rolled forwards and in, that is okay. You might like to play around with squeezing them back, letting them drop in, or you might just like to hold that stretch. Good, full breath in. If you're comfortable in these last 30 seconds, you might like to sink a little bit lower. And remember, you can also come out of the stretch at any time. Good, nice deep breath in. Well done, we're almost there. We will come out of this quite slowly as well. Sit. Good, guys. Now to come out of this, you can either let go of your stick and walk your hands out to the side, or you can start to walk your hands in and sit yourself up. Now, if you found your elbows are a little bit tender after that, just take them through a few circles. So just gently loosen them up. Good, and we'll go back a few the other way. Okay, and then we're going to get into some rotation with your shoulder. So with this one, you might like to tuck a pillow under your head And I'm going to get you to lay on your side. So I've just tucked my knees up in front of my body here. And I have my elbow bent. So my elbow is bent at 90 degrees. So elbow is up in line with my shoulder, and I have my hand bent up. So from there, what I'm looking to do is to let my hand drop in. So it's dropped into that internally rotated position. Okay, I am aiming to keep my shoulder pinned down on the floor, so I don't want my shoulder to lift up off the mat, okay? So from there, take your other hand, and I'm placing it on the back of my forearm, not on my hand, because my hand will bend. So place that non-working arm on the back of your forearm, and I'm just gently pushing down, so really gently pushing into that stretch. Okay, and good. So we're just gonna hold, we'll take a few deep breaths. And then we're going to work into what we call some pails and rails. So they're two different types of contractions that will hopefully see us get a little bit more range in this position when we're finished. All right, guys, take a nice deep breath in. And without coming out of the stretch, I'm going to get you to start to push down with your top hand, but match it by trying to push up with your bottom hand. So match the resistance of the top hand. So pushing down with the top hand, try and hold, fight that off with your bottom hand. So I'm pushing up with that bottom hand for 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now don't move, but try and pull that bottom hand down away from your top hand. So pull into that stretch for 5, 4. See if you can get some gaps there. 3, 2, 1. Bring your top hand down to the bottom arm and rest it there. Good, we're going to do 3 of these. I think everyone got a little bit further there. Deep breath in. Push your bottom hand up into your top hand. Good, resist that for 5, 4. How hard you do this, guys, is up to you. 3, 2, 1. Now freeze. Try and pull that bottom hand away from your top hand. Let's go for 5. Pull down. 4. Good. 3, 2, 1. Bring that top hand down. Good, we're meeting it in that new position. Let's do one more. Take a nice deep breath in. And push that bottom arm up into your top hand. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, now immediately pull that bottom hand down. Let's go for 5, 4. Good, how close can you get to the floor here? 3, 2, 1. And relax. Gently come out of that stretch. You might like to use your top hand to come out of that stretch. Wriggle around a touch on that side. And then we're going to change sides. Okay, as you sit up, roll the shoulders out if you need to. So guys, hopefully everyone got a little bit lower by the time we hit the 3rd round of those pails and rails. Good, so I've tucked that block under my head again. My elbow is bent at 90 degrees, and my elbow is also up in line with my shoulder. And then when you're ready, I'm going to firstly let that hand or that arm drop into internal rotation, just as far as you can. And then we place our other hand on the back of the forearm. Again, not on the hand because it's going to crack. Place it on the back of the forearm. And you can just gently assist in pushing it into a little bit more of a stretch if you like. Good, so just hold here for a moment. Again, working that hold just to give all those muscles a chance to understand what position we're in, what we're asking of it, and start to relax. So just start to give a little bit. Okay, now just make sure that your shoulder is still pinned down on the floor. So we don't want that shoulder to lift up, pin it down. Take a nice deep breath in. And let's start to push up with your bottom hand. Let's go, so pushing up into that top end for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good, now immediately pull down. Let's pull that hand down away from your top hand for 5. How close can you get to the floor? 3, 2, 1. Bring that top hand down. Good, meet it there in that new stretch. Take a deep breath in. All right, push that bottom arm up into your top hand. Let's go for 5. Pushing up as much as you can. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now pull that hand down, pull down. 5, 4, 3, well done, actively pulling into that stretch, 1, and bring that top hand down again. Good, so we're chasing a little bit more movement each time. Let's do one more, deep breath in, and push that bottom arm up into your top hand for 5, pushing up, 4, 3, 2, 1, and pull down, let's go, best effort yet, pulling down towards the floor, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you can relax, good. Gently move that shoulder around if you like before you come up. And sitting up out of that position. Okay, so guys, shoulders should be feeling good now. Okay, from this one, we're going to move into a little bit of a lunge with a rotation, and then we're going to move into some sweeping bear. So for this, I'm going to get you to come into a half kneeling position. And there are 2 variations we can do. So I'm going to bring my hands down so that they are placed on inside edge of my front foot, okay? And we're going to work some rotation. So I'm going to rotate up for a little double pulse at the top, and then I'm gonna try and pull my elbow down towards the floor. Now, if you would like to make this stretch a little bit more through your back hip, we can also do it with your knee off the ground. So I'm gonna come up for a double pulse at the top, pull my elbow down towards the floor at the front, okay? And we're just going to work for a minute on each side. So when you're ready, back knee up or down, your call, and let's go. So it's a little double pulse at the top. Try and pull, you might like to walk down onto your forearms. Double pulse at the top. Try and pull that elbow down to the floor in between. Keep going. So rotating through the spine, plus a bit of a stretch through your hips. I love how you have the whole family joining in there, Critter. Couple more reps. That's it, guys. So it's nice and controlled. Again, we're actively trying to pull into your pulses and then pull down towards the floor. Let's get one more rep in on this side. And then when you are ready, we can slowly rotate and swap onto the other side. So again, your bottom knee can stay on the floor. If you would like more of a stretch through your hips, you can tuck the back toe under and lift that back knee up. So that's up to you. And then when you're ready, we're going to rotate up. So a little double pulse at the top. And then we're just trying to pull the elbow down to near your foot. And again, just make a note of which side feels a little bit tighter. And it's always controlled. We're always just trying to pull a little bit further into the stretch each time. Good, let's get another 2 reps in on this side. And yep, keep going. When you've done those 2 reps, we can slowly come up and out of that position. Okay. So guys, one more main stretch to finish off tonight. So I'm going to come into a seated position here. All right, so my feet are spaced on the floor, so I'm always just leaning back on my hands in a comfortable position. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lift one hand up, I'm going to sweep across the body, I'm going to push through my shoulder, push through my heels, I'm trying to lift my hips and just extend up over my supporting arm. And then I'm going to come down, swap my hands over, And do the same on the other side. I'm trying to open up through my core, open up through my back. When you're ready, we're going to go for 90 seconds. So I'll do some of these with you so I can give you some cues if you need them. I'll start that clock now. Alrighty. So I'm just starting to lean back. I'm trying to push my weight, so if my weight is in my feet, I'm trying to push it back over my supporting arm. Stretch as far as you can over the top, come back down, and swap sides. So push your weight over your supporting arm. We're also trying to push the floor away with your shoulder. So push it up through this shoulder. That's it. So just nice and slowly working between your left and your right. Some of you may be able to go all the way over through bridge, so if that is you, you are welcome to give that a go. Well done. We'll get a couple more reps in here. That's it. So we're also stretching out the wrists a little bit. Good. See if you can arch and extend through that spine as well. Let's get another rep in on each side. Good, we'll do one more the other way just to even them out. And then you can pause there. Guys, roll those wrists out a little bit if you need to. Okay. And then to finish off, we're just going to finish off with a pike fold. So with your pike fold, guys, if you find you're a little bit tight through your hamstrings or we round a little bit into the lower back, you might like to elevate your hips on a cushion or a pillow. So what that does, it helps us tip the pelvis forward so we can actually lean up and over and into that stretch a little bit more easily. So it is an option if you'd like to prop your hips up. Otherwise, equally, you can sit on the floor. So we're going to go just for 90 seconds to finish off. You can bend your knees if you'd prefer to fold with bent knees. If that is more comfortable, please bend your knees. I don't mind. Otherwise, you can start to straighten them out if you like. Now, if you are really mobile, you can grab one or two of your yoga blocks. You can tuck them behind your toes, and we're going to start to use them to pull a little further into that stretch. Okay, so very much up to you. Let's go for these 90 seconds. So again, choosing whether you're starting with bent knees or with straight knees. Either way, we're trying to hug our chest and torso down on towards the legs. Yep. And if straightening both legs out is a bit too much, you might like to play around. So push one knee down towards the floor. So just straighten one at a time. Then you can bend. Gently straighten the other one. So you can alternate bending one leg at a time if you like. You might just like to fold forward completely and hold out in that position and breathe. Good, and we're just seeing if we can get a little bit lower into that stretch over these last 30 seconds. And guys, we're always thinking nose to toes. So if I think of taking my nose down to my knees, I round quite a bit. So if we think nose to toes, it actually allows us to keep a little bit longer through the spine and almost try and pull our hips forward and over into that stretch. So nose to toes for your hamstring stretches. Last 5 seconds. And then you can very slowly sit yourself up from there.